Now, originally I was hoping to split this up into 2 videos, but since all of my records came at once, yeah, marathon recent record pickups video. Let's get into it. What's going on, everybody? This is Sean of Raw Select Music. I am back, as you saw, with a new recent record pickups video. Whole lot of gems this time around. Maybe one of the last orders that I do this year. Probably unlikely. And since I have so many records to go through, I'm not going to waste any more time with an introduction. And yeah, let's get into these guys. Oh, it's unwieldy. I'm gonna knock 2 records out at the same time because they are tangentially related. We've got another one from Dusty Donuts, as well as a Dusty Donuts associated record from Jim Sharp. These are 2 hip-hop edits, one with Erykah Badu and one with Q-Tip's Let's Ride. This track specifically was the reason I picked this up in the first place, as well as some just dope remixes and edits on this one. One that's a little bit more boom-bappy, another one that's got a bit of a Brazilian theme to it. So I'm going to share one track from these each. Let's start with the more Brazilian sounding track from Gin Dunloop, and the name of the track is something in Portuguese, so I can't even try to pronounce it, but let's get into it. Let's play the Q-Tip edit. Seeing as how Q-Tip's Let's Ride is not only one of my favorite solo Q-Tip tracks, it's also one of my all-time favorite Dilla beats. I'm so happy to have version, albeit slightly different from the original, on 7-inch. So this was an absolutely appreciated addition to the music collection. And as I've stated multiple times in these videos, Dusty Donuts, their edits and remixes, you absolutely can't go wrong with, and another worthy addition to the record collection. Now, rounding out my 7-inch selections, as I was leaving a local record store, I stumbled across this Dave Brubeck 7-inch of Take 5. I mean, do I even need to tell you how amazing this track is? I mean, I'll give you a little snippet of it, but I don't really think I need to explain why I picked this guy up. Speaking of records that I found at a local record store, I came across the Amon Tobin verbal remixes, which coincided quite nicely with this recent Disc Union order of records that I did with the Collaborations EP. So now I actually have a full set. And intriguingly, on the back of the record, it says that the verbal remixes were sold separately, despite the fact that this record comes in this beautiful gatefold. So now I actually have the full set. The verbal remixes are really cool. The main reason that I picked this one up was for the Preview 73 remix. And the collaborative stuff is really, really cool, with one of my favorite Amon Tobin tracks being the untitled track collaboration with Kid Koala. So I'm gonna give you my 2 favorites from here. Just give you a little snippet preview of these guys. You know as to why you should check them out. of Amon Tobin's more sample-heavy stuff, I definitely recommend that you check out the collaborations portion. And the verbal remixes are really cool interpretations of his classic track from Out Where. So, really happy to add this to the collection. As soon as I saw that this record was relatively cheap on Disc Union, I knew that I had to pick it up, and I'm really happy that I did. And if you ever stumbled across yourself, you might want to consider picking this one up as well, as it's a perfect addition to anyone's Amon Tobin / early Ninja Tune collection. Yeah, I'm gonna have to move that over there. And speaking of additions to my Ninja Tune collection, I found a copy, Refried Food Parts 5 and 6, which means that I only have one more volume of the remix collection to complete the set. As you may see from the label, it has a bunch of different Ninja Tune artists doing remixes of the Jazz Breaks and Recipe for Disaster project. But specifically, there was one track that I knew that I had to have a copy of, and that is the Luke Vibert Wagon-Christ remix of Turtle Soup, which I like the original version, but the remix version is so much better. And if for whatever reason that you run across a copy of the Refried Food vinyl series, definitely pick this one up, because the Wagon Christ remix is absolutely a reason to get this. Had two orders floating around on Disc Union. They don't usually send them out until either A, they can confirm that they have the record in stock, or B, after about a month of searching, they will eventually just tell you that they don't have it, and they cancel that one particular record and then send out the rest of the order that you made. So while I was waiting for the first order of records that I made to come in, I started up a second order, and it was all spurred by this guy right here. This is the Gift Series Volume 1, House Shoes, Nameless. Oh my god, I am so glad that I finally got a copy of this. As you may have seen on this channel in previous videos, I've been slowly over time collecting as much of the Street Corner Music back catalog, and this was one of the early records that I thought I would never get my hands on. But while perusing around on Disc Union's website, I saw that a used copy had shown up and immediately decided to purchase it. And despite the fact that I didn't know anything of how it sounded, I knew that it was just going to be an absolute banger of a record. And sure shit, I was absolutely right. You can pretty much drop the needle anywhere on this guy and you'll find a song that will have you snapping your neck. But the track that immediately stuck out to me was A1, which is Beats' original intro. Get ready for it.
Still nameless, coming all the way from Flint, Michigan, and now he presents Beats' original.
Fan of sample heavy beats that are just guaranteed to break some necks. The Gift series is absolutely worth searching around for, and Nameless Volume 1, absolutely an essential addition to the Gift series. So glad to add this. I only have one more record in the series to pick up. Hopefully I'll find it someday, but for now, super happy to add this to the collection and highly recommend that you give this one a listen, because this is one of the hardest hitting records in the series. So let's get into the 5 records that make up the first order that I did. And kicking things off, we have Glenn Astro's Homespun, an absolute potpourri of electronic music. It does everything that Glenn Astro has been known for up until this point. So it covers a lot of different territory, be it dub, techno, house, electronic music, IDM, bass music, neo soul, hip hop. It's just got a little bit of everything. And despite the fact that it is all over the place, it definitely still feels like a cohesive project. And although I haven't had a chance to sit down and listen to it in full yet, I really, really dig what I've heard so far. So So, to introduce you to this project, if you haven't heard it yet, let's go with the title track from the record. This is Homespun with Adjacent, an absolutely dope track. Really looking forward to sitting down and giving this a more in-depth listen, but the stuff that I've heard so far, I'm really happy to have added it to the collection, and hopefully I can find some stuff that I can play for you in some of my live streams. So be on the lookout for more tracks from this, and definitely some thoughts on it in the near future. All right, next up, one of the records that spurred this order in the first place, we've got the new Mark DeClive Lowe trio record, Dreamweavers, which is a perfect extension of last year's Heritage project. So it definitely still has some of the vibes from that record, be it the mix of like electronic music, jazz, broken beat, and Japanese influence. And it's a super cool project. Definitely one of the most beautiful records that I've heard this year. And it's pretty much what I've come to expect from Mark DeClive Lowe at this point. And the track that I want to play for you right now is off the A side. This is Birds of Prey, a super dope track. Super dope project from Mark DeClive Lowe. I'm really happy that I managed to pick this up. And I gotta say, the insert sleeve is really cool. I love the die cut on the record sleeve. And just overall, I'm a fan of the music on this. Definitely expect a more in-depth look into this record in the not too distant future. And yeah, I will save my thoughts and opinions of this record for that time. So until then, definitely give this guy a listen if you haven't, because it is totally worth your time. All right, next up, one of the records that I immediately wanted early on this year, but it was sold out for the longest time. This was a record that I heard originally back when it was data only, but it got released on vinyl this year. And I swear if it was a 2020 release, I would probably put it in my #1 slot. That's how confident I am that I'm going to be listening to this thing on repeat for the longest time. And that is the Sam Gendel and Sam Wilkes collaborative project, Music for Saxophone and Bass Guitar. I'm not going to even say anything more about this record. You just need to hear Boa for yourself, and I imagine you're going to immediately fall in love with this. If you see a copy of this record, pick this guy up. An absolutely gorgeous record from front to back, and should be absolutely required listening. A bit more of a curiosity record, seeing as how I am a huge fan of Bad Bad Not Good. I think I remembered seeing a review for this record that wasn't all that positive, but it didn't dissuade me from wanting to check it out. And that's the Maddie Deja Vu record. This actually also came out digitally in 2018, but it got issued on vinyl this year. And I gotta say, I really dig the direction on here, because he's showing that he hasn't completely gotten rid of the Bad Bad Not Good influence, but he's also sort of stepping out into his own territory and finding his own musical voice outside of his amazing Bad Bad Not Good project. So let's play the track from the A side. This is A1. This is Embarrassed, and it is super dope. Dig the vibe on on this. It's a bit psyche, it's a little bit jazzy, it's a little bit pop, but it's got everything that I look for in music these days, and I'm really looking forward to sharing my thoughts and opinions of this record with you guys at a later date. So if you haven't listened to Maddie's Deja Vu yet, definitely give it a listen. Either listen to it digitally or buy the vinyl. I'm really happy to have added this to the collection, and I'm really looking forward to sharing my thoughts and opinions of this guy with you in the near future. Unwieldy. And lastly, we have a record that seemed is kind of a little bit of a letdown, but I think it's going to grow on me the more that I listen to it, and that's the final record in the Fat Beats Baker's Dozen series. This is 13, which is a compilation record featuring all the different artists that you can see on the label right there. It doesn't smack the same way that I was expecting it to. It's still fine. There's some really cool beats on it, and there's some really cool vibes on it, but I was really expecting something that was a little bit more of a head destroyer. That being said, it's still cool. I'm happy to have added it to my collection because I didn't want it to be one of those records that passed me by and then it would be nearly impossible to get my hands on. So the track that I want to share with you is the Kutma track. Yeah, I'm not going to try to pronounce that. But that was definitely the standout track to me, and is definitely the closest there is to a absolute neck destroyer. So let's get into that. It's not immediately striking, or it wasn't exactly what I was looking for, it doesn't take away from the fact that there's still some really cool hip-hop instrumentals on here, and it seems like at the end of the day, it's a nice little end cap to their Baker's Dozen series. So if you're already a fan of these records in the first place, definitely a worthy addition to your collection, and I'm looking forward to diving into this and giving you my thoughts and opinions at a later date, so be on the lookout for that in the near future. So that's going to be it for me today, guys. Thanks as always for watching. If you've listened to any of these records for yourself, please let me know what you thought about them down in the comments. If you want to hear any of these records for yourself, please head over to my WordPress blog, because that's where I'll post music links to any of the records that I talked about in this video. Also, make sure you head over to my Mixcloud, where you can check out Raw Select Radio. Head over to my SoundCloud, because I recently did a 2-hour retrospective on DJ Food. There you can pretty much hear the widest swath of the different eras and sounds of DJ Food's music. I'm really happy with the way that it turned out, and I think you should give it a listen. Also, make sure you're here every Sunday at 8 p.m. Japan Standard Time for Live from the Record Room. There you can hear me play records like the ones that I showed off in this video, as well as other records in my collection that I don't get a chance to talk about. Links to everything, as always, down in the description. But that's going to be it for me today, guys. Thanks as always for watching, and I will catch you in the next video. So until then, peace out!